like I said, in the past couple of years, I started realizing that God had a different calling for me, and more specifically, it was in domestic violence. And so, because of my personal experience, and so I figured since I had gone through it, that I could help women through it. I can help women out of it, and so I ended up writing the book. And so.
Welcome to Workshop Wednesday. Welcome to We Work Every Day. 7 days a week, cause we striving towards a better day. Don't cut me down for showing my true colors. Love me for me, cause I show love to others. This is for entrepreneurship, for Black Lives Matter. This is for the ones who are forgotten. I pray we never go backwards. This is for pushing forward in the face of adversity. Thank you, God, for protection when the world was cursing me. This is for strength, courage, and wisdom. They can't keep us in shackles. You're the one that could change the trajectory of those family matters. Be the first college grad, be the first millionaire. Be your own wildest dreams, cause the world ain't fair.
Greetings, this is Dr. Kiki here, and welcome to another Workshop Wednesday. We have none other than Latricia Jones, the best-selling author of His Weapon of Choice, My Experience with Domestic Violence. She is a victim advocate. She's dedicated her life to supporting individuals who have suffered physical, emotional, and mental abuse at the hands of domestic and intimate partners. She has a former experience as a medical assistant and is trained in recognizing the signs of abuse, PTSD, depression, anxiety, substance abuse, and thoughts of suicide. She's moved forward throughout her life and overcome adversity, and is currently working on her MBA after completing her bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Sam Houston State University. Not only does she work in the area of education, she also is a manager to support and uplift those that are moving forward in the entrepreneurial space. What we bring to you, with no further ado, Mrs. Latricia Jones. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence and your patience in working with us. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming with us today. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to the work that you're currently doing in the area of women leadership and education, and what brought you to the point to where you could advocate for women in this particular format?
Okay, so my 9 to 5 is in education. That's where I started. And initially I started working in education for my kids. It was convenient for all of us to go to the same school. That way I can go to work with them and come home to them. I wouldn't have to pay daycare. So in the process of me working with children and building relationships with parents, I started realizing that I wanted to do more than just work at the school. But I'm still there because I'm committed to my job and I love it there. But like I said, in the past couple of years, I started realizing that God had a different calling for me, and more specifically, it was in domestic violence. And so, because of my personal experience. And so I figured since I had gone through it, that I could help women through it. I can help women out of it. And so I ended up writing the book. And so now that's where I'm at. I still work at the school. I still work with the kids and I love their parents. But another part of my life is with domestic violence. I talk with women. I support women who are in it, who are out of it, and just need to know how to recover or survive it. And amongst a lot of other things that I'm doing, but my main focus is domestic violence.
Now, the name of the book is His Weapon of Choice. Could you tell us what gave you the concept and the name for the book?
When I wrote the book, I wrote the book first because I was always told that you write the book and then you come up with a title. And so as I think I've read my own book at least 100 times. And it's funny because every time I read it like it's my first time reading it. And so each chapter, I was like, what am I going to call this? What am I going to call this? But then it dawned on me that each chapter focuses on an abuse situation or occurrence that happened. So whether it was physical with physical weapon or a verbal type of weapon or an emotional weapon, that's each chapter covers weapons. And so then I was like, okay, maybe I should call it his weapon of choice. Especially after talking to my mentor, he was like, that's a good name. That's what you should call it right there. And that'll be, put your face on it and bam, that'll be your book. So that's where the title came from.
And in the book, you mentioned many things in regards to certain relationships and how family played a role in helping and supporting you. What type of advice would you give people that may be in a domestic violence situation right now and just feel like they're all by themselves, and maybe they've left one time, two times, three times, and they feel like no one is going to want to help them leave the fourth time? What advice would you give that person that's thinking about they want to leave, and what advice would you give them?
I would say stay strong. And the one thing you should never think is you are alone, because you're not. You just probably don't know anyone yet who is going through it. When I wrote my book, I didn't know anybody until the book was published. And then everybody started flocking to me saying, oh my God, I'm going through it too. I didn't know you went through it. Oh my God, I'm in it. I'm trying to get out of it. So you're not alone. It's just other people that are like you are there sitting thinking they're alone, and there's nobody else. So you're not alone. So that's the one thing. And then I would say to just keep praying and just ask God for the strength for you to get out of it. Because the truth is, statistically speaking, a woman does not really leave for good until like their seventh or eighth time. And when I think back to to how long I was with my abuser, it took me 16 years. But I think in those 16 years, I probably left about 7 or 8 times until finally I didn't come back. So don't feel bad if you leave and come back. And then the last thing I would say to any family members or loved ones who know somebody who's dealing with that, just be there to support them, because until they're ready to, and that's sad to say, but until they're ready to leave, until they've had enough, they're not going to leave. And that was me. Until I was just enough was enough, I stayed. I left, I went back, I left for 2 days, came back. It wasn't enough until I had enough. So, just be there to support them. Don't ridicule, don't make them feel bad. They already feel bad enough. So don't add to it, because that's just going to keep them staying forever. And you don't want that. You just want them to know that it's okay. You're going to get through it. You're stronger than this. And eventually they'll find their way out.
That's really good information, because so many times, especially now with us being in COVID, and we've lost a classmate at my high school due to domestic violence. And they were stating that the partner was never physically abusive. He was just verbally abusive. And it kind of like, it just all of a sudden that particular night escalated. And see, now that we're in COVID kind of circumstances and everybody is kind of in close quarters, situations are escalating. So what advice would you give a family member if they get a call and it is escalated, and they probably don't want to call? Because sometimes it's like, okay, well, if you call, the person that you love will get mad at you, right? So
right.
What do you tell family members that have been put on the blacklist because they have advocated for that abused person? What would you tell that family member, that continues?
I would say, just like before, just be there, because when we're victims, we fall and get up, fall and get up, we fall and get up, we call the police and then take them back. That's what we do. And so just be there so when we finally are done crying wolf, because one of these days they're going to be done crying wolf and they're going to realize that all of your efforts were not to harm them, were just because you cared and you loved for them. And if they called you, if you get a loved one who's being abused and they actually call you to help them. Even if they do take the person back the next week or the next day, just still help them, because that means that that's their cry out for help. And understand that we, the victims, we tend to lash out because a lot of it is not because we're mad at the people or mad at our families for trying to be there for us. We're embarrassed. A lot of it is we're embarrassed, and the only thing we know how to do is to try to make the other person feel like they're wrong, so we don't feel embarrassed because of the situation we're in.
That's good information. And myself, I've been in domestic violence in terms of being a child in the situation, seeing my mom go through it and watching her go through it and not necessarily knowing what to think, because at one point it's like, as a child, you love both of the people in the circumstance, so you don't know which side to choose, and then you're kind of in the middle of a situation. So
exactly.
I mean, what do you do, or how do you process that with your children? What type of advice do you give mothers that are trying to support their children in understanding the situation? And do you have any recommendations for that?
When I was going through it, the one thing that I always remembered was my kids didn't ask to be here. They didn't ask to be in this situation. So I never, some parents, when they're being abused or when they're, hurt, they take it out on their kids. And so that's one thing I never did. No matter what I was going through, no matter what was being done to me, I never took it out on them. And I always just tried to talk to them. Even if they saw it, I would always try to remind them instantly that what you saw is not what's supposed to be happening. What you saw your dad do to me is not how a man treats a woman. It's not how, especially if you love that person. You don't put your hands on women. Because I have sons. I have 2 sons, and I don't want them growing up thinking that that's okay, because our kids' first role models and the first people that they look up to are us, their moms and dads. And so I never wanted my sons to think that it's okay to put their hands on a woman. I never want my daughter to think that it's okay for a man to put their hands on her. So I just would always talk to my kids and made sure that they understood whatever you saw, is not supposed to be happening. Soon, this will be over. Mommy is going to get y'all out of it. We're not going to be in this anymore. And things, and things will be better. So I would just say, as mothers, don't take it out on your kids, because they're victims too. Because it's not just in an abuse situation, is the actual person that's being abused is not the only victim. It's the people having to watch it. It's the kids that are seeing their dad or mom put their hands on the other parent. It's the family members who have to watch their loved one go through it. Everybody plays a part in this. So everybody's feelings need to be taken into consideration. So understand that your kids need you just as much as you need them, because one of my biggest comforts was knowing that I had my kids. So I always made sure that regardless of what was going on, we had our bond, and they knew that no matter what, I was going to love them. I would never take it out on them. I would never direct any of my pain towards them, because they didn't have anything to do with this.
Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Continue to support Workshop Wednesday and continue to encourage all those that you see to press forward during this time. Thank you for tuning in. Dr. Kiki signing out. Stay tuned on next week, where we will bring you more of H-Town's finest. Take care. God bless.
This is for courage and wisdom. They can't keep us in shackles. You're the one that could change the trajectory of those family matters. Be the first college grad, be the first millionaire. Be your own wildest dreams, cause the world ain't fair.
I am the greatest, I am the one.